Okay, Dakota Kai. Firstly, how are you? How's the knee? How's the rehab situation going?
Oh, rehab's going good. Since the day after surgery, I've been ahead of schedule, so hopefully looking at an early 2024 return in ring. But everything's going good. Squatting 500 pounds, the usual.
It's obviously not the first time you've dealt with a serious injury of this nature. What's different for you this time around, and what lessons did you learn from the first time you were on the shelf?
I think for me, I'm a lot better this time around in terms of my mental, but also like physically, I feel a lot stronger. And I don't know if it's just because I've gone through it before and I had I'm like, no, I have to do things like a lot more efficient this time around to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But yeah, I feel like I'm in a much better space and yeah, we're good.
Obviously, if you're looking at a 2024, early 2024 return, that could put you in line for a spot on the Elimination Chamber card in Perth. What was your initial reaction to WWE returning to Australia for the first time in 4 years and the first premium live event since 2018?
I was in shock. Almost didn't believe it. I thought it was a fan edit, like someone had just edited Perth Elimination Chamber. I'm like, oh, that would be cool. But the fact that it's actually happening and in February, which is actually really close if you think about it, like it's almost Christmas, so we're going to be there in no time. I just, in my whole heart, am so excited because performing at a big event like that, especially like one in Australia that's so close to New Zealand, my home, it's like such a bucket list thing to perform in front of like my people, you know what I mean? And like Australia is like a second home to me too, but I know there'll be a lot of Kiwis there as well. So that's something that's definitely a bucket list thing, and I hope we can make it happen for sure.
Obviously, with the Aussies that are in WWE at the moment, obviously you've got Rhea and Grayson that are doing great things. Bronson over on Raw, yourself as a Kiwi. It must be pretty cool to see our side of the world be in the frame for big events. Obviously, WWE and other companies have been running big stadium shows in other countries, but to have one in Australia must be pretty cool, and hopefully New Zealand one day as well.
Hopefully New Zealand, yeah. I mean, I know we're such a small country, but the pride that Kiwis have for their country and their people is so strong, and I think we'll see that especially in Perth. I'm sure, like there's a lot of Kiwis that live over Perth now too, but it does feel like a dream, like the fact that Elimination Chamber is going to be happening in Perth, and I think it's going to be such a great experience for like anyone that's ever wanted to travel to like a big wrestling event, or it's been too far away. Flying to the States from down under, that's a mission. You have to take so much time off to accommodate for all that flying. But the fact that it's just in Perth, just 5-hour flight away from like Auckland, it's so doable. I hope people take the chance and like take this opportunity and go there.
Obviously, it's been a while since I've spoken to you, and 2022 was a bit of a roller coaster for yourself.
Yeah.
Do you want to just talk us through how everything did play out? Obviously, your initial exit from the company, your return. I know it's been pretty well documented by now.
Oh yeah.
Aligning with damage control, but how did you deal with some of the adversity that you faced, and obviously the highs that did come from that roller coaster?
So when it initially happened, it didn't come as a surprise to me, even though it was still shocking in a sense, because it's hard to explain, but I think that was my emotions. It was very much like I accepted it, and I took a little bit of time away from wrestling just in general, but those months off really helped me in my mental, and I felt really good. But up until the point where Triple H did call me literally a couple of days before SummerSlam, it was almost like it was meant to be in a weird way, because it's so weird how all of that happened. Bayley texted me a couple of days before SummerSlam and said that she was going to pitch this idea of a stable, and I wasn't with the company at the time, so I was more like, you do that, like, good for you, I hope it works out well, not thinking that Triple H would literally ask for me to enter back into like that. But I think, I think it was all meant to be. Like, it's just very weird how things all work out. And Bayley has been talking to me for years about something like this, like a stable like this. And the fact that it happened in such a way, you know, at SummerSlam, and then after everything we've sort of done and accomplished, the big shows and championships, like, it's crazy how it all works out, I think. And I wouldn't ask for like two better people to be alongside to make this happen.
You talk about Bayley, obviously she's a legend of the business already, even if she's still in the prime of her career. She's obviously someone that uses the role model moniker, but she is also someone that probably is a role model backstage. Do you want to just talk us through the biggest lessons that you've learned from someone like that?
So when we first met, I think at the first Mae Young Club. No, actually, we met before I was signed on the independent scene. So she's been someone that I've looked up to for a long time. Not only her in-ring, but just her character development. And she's just the nicest person. And I probably shouldn't be saying this. I'm ruining her rep right now, but she really is. And like, she's so eager to teach people and to take people under their wing, which is another reason why I'm so grateful to be in a stable alongside someone like that, someone who genuinely cares. So I think the biggest thing I've learned from her is that you don't have to like lose yourself. You can stay true to who you are and still be a good person. She's like one of the best people. And, you know, in a business where there's so many ups and downs, like, you can still be true to yourself. And obviously her talent she's immensely talented. And I think that's why a lot of people look up to her and ask for her advice too. She's a real one. She really is.
Obviously your other partner in Damage Control is, you know, current champion in WWE, Io Sky. She's someone that looked like she was possibly out of the company as well last year. She's obviously from a different background to yourself and Bayley. It's probably what makes you so unique as a trio. How much pride did it fill you with to see her, you know, reach the pinnacle within the company?
Oh my gosh. So, I mean, I did some independent work in Japan, like before I was signed. So I've known of Io for a long time, and I've always maintained the fact that she's one of the best in the world. And she's showing that, you know, like being a champion right now. And to be in a group again with someone so talented as her, it was such a special moment, especially at SummerSlam just gone, when she cashed in and had that amazing moment. And the fact that Bayley and I could be there with her in that moment and alongside her, it was such a big milestone. Like, Io's just, I feel like she hasn't even scratched the surface of what she's capable of doing. Same with Bayley too, and still in their prime. And I'm excited to be able to get a front row seat to witness that too.
You mentioned, you know, being there for Io at SummerSlam, and usually in WWE or the wrestling business as a whole, if you're injured, you're pretty much out of sight, out of mind until you're ready to come back. You found yourself in a unique situation, I guess, in the last couple of months where you have been factored into TV. Was that something you were surprised about? And does it make you feel like you kind of have that trust from the company, even if you are injured, to play a pivotal role in, you know, week-to-week programming?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that 100%, because I don't think, and maybe someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I was talking to my trainer at the Performance Center, and she was saying that there's never been a time where someone has been brought back to regular TV before they've been cleared to wrestle. And I take that as like, you know, that they obviously trust me, and it's such a huge responsibility to do. Obviously, I'm very limited in what I'm able to do on TV right now because I'm not physically cleared, but the fact that they brought me back and I'm on SmackDown weekly to continue telling the story and to continue being alongside Bayley and Io, to be seen in that light, it's I feel very like honored that they trust me with that. And I still can't wait to get back in the ring though. It's kind of like being on TV every week. It's almost like a carrot, the dangling carrot, like, oh, the wrestling's so close and I get to see my friends do it, but it's still a few more months away for me. But I am very grateful, yes.
Obviously, before you did go down with the knee injury, you did get to do some pretty cool stuff. Obviously, WrestleMania was, I'm sure, a highlight for yourself, getting to work against three legends of the business and alongside two of your best friends in front of 60,000, 70,000 people at SoFi Stadium. Have you since then had a chance to reflect on what you have been able to achieve since coming back to the company in 2022, now that you have, been out of the ring for a little bit?
I definitely think so. I mean, since we returned at SummerSlam of last year, it really had been go, go, go nonstop. We were doing shows every single week, flying to Cardiff, flying to Saudi Arabia, doing big PLEs. And it was very hard to actually take a step back, because when you're in it, you're just in it. You got one thing to the next thing. And we didn't really get an opportunity to look at everything we'd done. So I think since the injury, it's been cool to look back at what we've accomplished and actually be proud of the fact, because when you're in it and it's go, 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 there's not really a chance to do that unless you force yourself to step back and actually look at what you've done.
Being out with injury, and even before that, you're someone that likes to use social media quite a lot. You have your streaming platform as well. Has that something that's always been important to you? And I guess, where does that come from, that desire to engage with your fans on a level that a lot of performers probably don't?
I think for me, so I've always been into video games and stuff, and I started streaming back in 2016. I've been I've stopped and started again. But I think for me, it's a good opportunity for fans to see me in a different light than what they're used to seeing on SmackDown TV, for example. And they can kind of communicate with me. I love that medium of talking to fans through gaming. I think it's so unique, and it's very much more of a relaxed environment. But I love streaming. I think it's such a good way to showcase what I'm interested in, as well as communicating with fans and, talking to them in that light.
Just, I guess, circling back to things that are perhaps closer to home for us, the wrestling scene in New Zealand and Australia is obviously very different to the States or even in Japan. Casting your mind back to your early days, how hard was it for you to break in? Because we do look now, and there are some Aussies and Kiwis, especially yourself and Jay White, to at the mainstream level. How hard was it to break in? And now looking back, do you kind of have that sense of pride that you're kind of flying the flag for your country when so little others have done that in the past?
I think so. When I was back in Auckland and working Australia, New Zealand shows, it seemed a bit unattainable, this dream. And I don't know if it was because there were hardly any Kiwis and Aussies in these big companies at the time, and also the fact that we're just so physically far removed from where it's all happening, So in my mind, I was like, oh, there's no way, what am I doing? I'm, it's just too far. But the fact that, a whole bunch of us kept working at it and doing independent shows all over the place. Japan did some here in the States. And I think just having a love for it really helped. It never felt like work. And, we eventually got our names out more by doing these shows, working more of these bigger independent shows. And it is cool to think that there's a group of us flying the flag, because it really is an attainable dream. It's not so far-fetched that you might think. It's really doable, especially if you put your love and work hard at it. It's 100% attainable, and I think there's a group of us that have shown that.
Just New Zealand as a sporting nation, obviously the All Blacks have been at the pinnacle of rugby union for such a long time. Here in Australia at the moment, there's kind of a bit of a movement up the wires. The New Zealand Warriors. Some amazing things led by Shaun Johnson and Andrew Webster. You're someone that's on a huge stage worldwide. Do you realise how much of an example you are setting for young girls and boys back home in New Zealand?
It's so weird to think about, because obviously when I was growing up watching wrestling, there are people you idolize and look up to, but I don't know why it's very weird to see myself in that light. And I'm not sure why that is, but I know that there's a whole, there's probably a lot of people out there that look to me and sit in terms of, like I said, flying the flag in that capacity. But it really is cool. And like you said, New Zealand's very, very strong sporting nation. My granddad was an All Black back in the day. So I think it's something that very much runs in our blood. So yeah, that is very cool to think about though.
Just to start to wind down a little bit, obviously some pretty major news for WWE this week. They've signed a reasonably big name in the wrestling landscape in Jade Cargill. How familiar are you with her work, and how exciting is that for the women's locker room that has continued to go from strength to strength in the past decade in WWE?
Oh, it's such an amazing signing. I mean, I met her for the first time today when I was at the Performance Center, and she's so lovely. She's such a crazy good talent. Like, it's such a good opportunity. There's so many dream matches now, that can happen because now that she's here. So props to her, but I'm excited to see what happens with Jade.
And just lastly, for you, when you do come back, you're obviously in a trio, you've held tag team gold.
Mm-hmm.
What is your goal for, this next 12, 18 months period of your career, and who or what is next for Dakota Kai in WWE?
I think one of the main things would be actually, going from strength to strength with damage control, and obviously gold singles or tag would definitely be on the horizon. Like, we're not fussy. We just want to hold gold. You know what I mean? But as long as I get to do it alongside them, and we'll just, power through whatever locker room would want to step in front of us, I'm just happy to be doing it alongside them. And 2024 is about to be really crazy.
Well, Dakota, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And definitely looking forward to seeing you back in the ring soon, and hopefully in Perth in February as well.
Hopefully. Let's put the vibes out for that. Thanks, Liam.
No worries. Thank you.